With Uganda's debt to GDP ratio threatening to hit the unacceptable threshold, there are many questions lingering. Many have already started asking questions why the country continues to borrow out when there are resources domestically that can be mobilized to support that. We explore this school of thought and find out whether it has some potency in it. The scarcity of long-term financing in the economy is oftentimes cited as a major hindrance to government aspiration of developing long-term projects like infrastructure using domestic resources. As a result, the country has had to rely on borrowed resources from foreign governments and multilateral lenders to finance most of these projects such as roads and dams. This at times breeds its own challenges such as less prudent conditions set by the foreign funders. But experts contend that there are more long-term resources domestically and the region that government can utilize.
I recently read a report, I think it was the African Development Bank, that said that in East Africa alone there was about $26 billion of latent capital available. That which is not deployed, underdeployed, or if it's deployed it's inefficiently. So there is domestic capital.
One of the areas being cited is the pension sector, with the National Social Security Fund alone sitting on an over 9 trillion shillings kitty. This, plus the resources controlled by the private social security service providers, can help plug the long-term financing gap.
If we can do some reforms in the NSSF law, if we can do some reforms like establishing a contributory scheme, then we broaden the base for long-term finance.
But that gets into the argument about pension deregulation, because if I'm 20 years old and I'm going to retire in 30 or 40 years' time, that capital that is being managed by pension funds is going to last 40 years. So you can match infrastructure on the other side of my capital to enhance the pool of long-term funding.
But what is needed to mobilize more long-term resources and free them for investment?
The capital markets in itself is a transparent frame within which you can deploy capital over the long term. I don't think we're using it well enough. If we enhance the products that sit there, there'll certainly be the right amount of capital domestically to match government infrastructure spending.
Another area of interest, according to pundits, is the tax. With Uganda's tax to GDP ratio ranked behind that of its peers, Kenya and Tanzania, this area, according to pundits, has great potential fast-tracking the reduction of the country's dependence on donor debt and aid to build key infrastructure.
We see that between the period 1996 and 2006, the tax revenues or the revenues were responding very well to the economic developments at 1.24%. And a ratio above 1 is pretty good. However, in the last 10 years, that is 2006 to about 2016, we found that this ratio deteriorated to 0.95%, meaning that if the economy grew by 1%, the revenues do not grow in tandem to the economic development. There's something that happens which makes us not catch that extra economic development in the revenue base.
And some of the reasons for this state of affairs are not far if one looked keenly.
Part of the problem, Maurice, that we have in this country is that government is informal. Government is informal in this economy. They are not meeting their tax obligations. We are paying our pay-as-you-earn, and if you don't pay as-you-earn, if you don't pay pay-as-you-earn, as a private entity, URA will wake up and come to you and put the padlocks, isn't it? But I am waiting for that day when URA wakes up with all the padlocks and goes to a ministry because they have not remitted their pay-as-you-earn. They don't remit pay-as-you-earn. They deduct but do not remit.
Between the good pension sector reforms and policies and an efficient tax administration system lies, according to pundits, a solution to rolling back the ballooning foreign aid and the country's reliance on aid to support key sectors. Even here, though, effective resource utilization remains paramount.